Hello, this is Grace again, and this is Here Comes Cosmic Hell, to help all of mankind and myself understand that the gifts of power of the stars that God has given mankind and womankind to use and become realized, and ultimately realize God more of the times. That we're going to decode some of the news stories so that you could see that this truly is a great cosmic drama. And I'd love to give you the magic that I see and the sacredness that I see and the order that I see and the timing of events in all the various news stories that I read. And I'm not a reader by choice, and I choose to decode the news through a television show I used to have on Time Warner for 18 years on public access. And I had a simple show where usually I would have a co-anchor, but now I'm doing solo, that I love to share with you the gifts of power and the fascination and magic that things are timed. But there is mastery, that also that karma is real, that the star pictures that you're playing out are designated lessons and movies that are playing out on Earth. As I said before, that when you go to the movies, you always ask what movie's playing or what picture's playing. That when you go to an astrologer, you're asking them, well, what picture's playing down on Earth in my life? And they're going to look it up. So that's what we're doing here, so that we can extend the fascination, and there is something higher and greater than we are. And that's always helpful in these very testing times. Yeah. So the last show we discussed Mr. Khan, who was on a Thursday night, the last day of the Democratic convention, and he was an immigration lawyer, but he spoke as a member of the public and not a politician. And he really fearlessly stood up with moral conviction and courage to blast and rebuke, condemn firmly the wrong statements and unfair statements about condemning all of Muslims and not discriminating between in any religion. There's always a few nutcases and a few people who are misusing power and using the religion to say that the Bible either told them to do it or the Quran either told them to do it. And we have to develop more discrimination to be able to tell the difference between somebody who has terribly wrong thinking and what is correct. That which is good does not harm yourself or harm other people as much as possible. Isn't that common sense? But anyway, back to the star pictures, that most of the politicians on the Republican side are not rebuking or standing up against him, because primaries are coming up shortly, and they want to have all the followers who are not that discriminating, and Donald can fool them because he's a celebrity, that they will follow him because they say, at least he tells the truth. Well, I give you that he will blurb out whatever he's thinking, so at least he isn't an over-practiced politician which knows how to hide and not come out directly at times. But with Donald Trump, if you think without qualifying what's coming out of his mouth, whether it's right or wrong or fair or unfair, then you're not using discrimination. He may be honest about what's coming out of his mouth, but half the stuff he's saying is wrong, terribly hurtful to minorities, women, etc. You know the story, just watch the news. That Mr. Khan, not only for his son, was willing to stand up for moral conviction and blast somebody that is saying terrible things to hurt people. That let's go on. There's so many stories I want to cover. In general, why is Hillary up 10 points now? Today is Thursday, I believe the 24th of August, and we're in Central Park, New York City. Hillary is up 10 points. Transiting Mars is now at 0 Sagittarius. Her Jupiter in her natal at birth chart is at 0 Sagittarius. And at the time of the election, November 8th, 2016, her Jupiter is also her Jupiter lucky stars because it's trining her natal Saturn in Leo, the progressed Jupiter. And Saturn will be triggering her Uranus sextile in lucky star to Saturn. And Uranus rules her activism work, her work for children, for groups to help women, and so forth, and causes throughout her life. She's not perfect, none of us are. But Saturn rules work, so all that work of activism, Uranus rules the sign of Aquarius. That's when she will be rewarded most likely. Now let me tell you why Trump's chart is a bit difficult to read as to whether I feel that he will lose, but remember this. At the same time that he has the lucky stars going on of his big popularity, and he can get all these people in conventions that are hysterical about him, because Venus is also in there, just like Bernie had Venus, so they loved them. But in the end, Bernie didn't win. But Bernie did win, because his ideas changed the Democratic platform to be more progressive, which it needed to be. These are different times. We need change quicker than you think. The Earth doesn't have forever. God only knows when. But anyway, the lucky stars of Trump are playing, so you can see why he's still attracting. And also this month he attracted a lot of money, so he made up for the deficit that he had before. But on the downside, people are going against him of power. That Donald Trump, at the same time this lucky star is playing out, which is Uranus together with the Sun in Gemini, how he talks, is in lucky star to Venus, Jupiter in Libra, so popularity, and it's also the Uranus Sun is in lucky star to Mars in Leo, so he comes right out and attacks. But on the positive, at least he's not afraid to get out there. So he's being very assertive, but too much of a bully. He's overdone it. Remember, it's everything in balance. That at the same time this lucky star is playing out, and I predicted that over a year ago, in June of 2015, when he first got in, I said, oh man, this guy's gonna get big. He has this lucky star in. But further on down the road, I said he's gonna get blocked, because that lucky star of the Uranus Sun, well, that's the lucky star, but at the same time, the difficult star picture of Saturn, which can block on the negative. But as I told you, on the positive, it's his working on his real estate deals, and he has an empire, so it's using Saturn in the positive. It's his work. And in sign of Cancer, it's real estate. That his Saturn together with Venus in the sign of Cancer, Venus can be women, so the women can go against him, is squaring or in difficult star picture to Jupiter and Venus at the time of the election. That, my friends, can block him, and that picture was very much in at the time of the last day of the Democratic Convention. So that Saturn-Venus square, Jupiter-Venus in Libra, is most likely going to stop him. But once again, the honest truth, speaking as a research astrologer, the positive star pictures and the negative star pictures are in at the same time. So, not so easy to figure out whether the lucky star is going to keep going or the other star, the Saturn-Venus, is going to block him. So you can see, but that's where I decided, I'm gonna go see the star pictures of people who are around him to figure out on the election day, November, who's going to be most likely blocked and depressed. Because you can't get it all from his chart. So let's see here, one of his surrogates, it's always on television, the brunette woman, Katrina Pearson, she is going to have Mars in Virgo, which means that she could be like the attack dog and defend Trump in Virgo, that she is like his worker. She is working for him. Virgo can rule work. She's using her Mars to defend him, but her Mars in her birth chart, natal chart, is in difficult star pattern or square to Neptune in Sagittarius. Sagittarius, Neptune means that your ideal and your dream may be blocked. So, and also Neptune, remember, can be lies. That a big reason why Trump could lose is that people are starting to see that he's lying through his teeth. And people keep saying that he's honest, he says what he, you know, with whatever, straight out, but they're not weighing that the things that he's saying are dead wrong half the time. And so abusive and so unfair and unjust and hurtful to people. So anyway, I looked at hers, and Paul Manafort, in the last week, Trump is refusing to listen to him, according to news stories. And I said to myself, he must be having a hell of a time with Trump being his boss. Can you imagine if Trump were your boss? No, thank you. But remember, this is only a test for you to see how you can use your inner reserve. And in the end, if you learn to be strong against this negativity, then you could use it as a test of strengthening yourself against wrongdoing. But anyway, I said, Paul Manafort must have Saturn in somewhere. And also, since most likely he's arguing with his boss, or his boss is attacking him, Mars is probably in that picture. See how you can, I call this backwards astrology, where instead of starting with the star script map or a horoscope, instead you start with a story that I heard on the news or your story. And you say, well, if he's fighting with his boss and there's a power struggle, then Mars, and then if Trump is going to block him, then that's probably Saturn. That I was totally correct. Paul Manafort is born April 1st, 1949. And I do a lot of chart readings just by looking at the day and seeing the star patterns. That he has the star picture of a progressed Mars squaring his natal Saturn at 0 of Virgo. And what triggered that in the last week, where he's getting controlled and bullied by his boss, Donald Trump. That natal Saturn at 0 Virgo is squaring, transiting Mars at 29 Scorpio to 0 of Sagittarius. So all that was playing out. And you can even use this backwards astrology in your life. Because if you know what story you're talking about, for instance, if you're over texting in your car and you're in a crash, well, car can be ruled by the planet Mercury. And then if you're texting, then you're not keeping your eyes on the road because of this progressive device, the internet. That would be Uranus. So you probably have a Mars-Uranus picture somewhere, and so forth and so on. So you can see, or if you fell in love with somebody, then you go check out, you say, probably my Venus is in. Now, if your Venus is well aspected, then it probably will be favorable. And it's being triggered by some transits or progressive planets. But if it's in difficult star picture, supposing it's Venus square Saturn that you have in your chart, or Venus square Neptune, that means Neptune, either you're going to be deceived or you're going to deceive yourself that this person likes you when he really doesn't. Or if you have Venus square Saturn, that means that you're going to get blocked and that you're not popular. But another way of saying this, it's not always negative, bad karma that you have some of these star pictures. It means that God has his higher intention as to why he wrote this star script map, because he has a higher purpose for your part and role on Earth, and that he wants you to play out a different picture. for instance, years ago, this famous actress, probably before you young people's time, it was Doris Day. She, when she was very young, was a dancer, and she was going to leave town and go for a dancing gig, and that was her dream. But unfortunately, on the night before she was leaving, she went to a party and drank too much or whatever, her person that was driving the car, and they got in a crash. And she broke her leg, so there goes the dancing career. But in the end, it opened up the door for her to become a very famous actress. That was Doris Day. So you can't always tell what's karma and what God has a reason why you go through testing periods, because it may make you more sensitive and more compassionate. Because if your life is all free flowing, you would be so spoiled, most likely, and take for granted everything. And perhaps when you got older, when you lose your looks and everything is not how great you look, etc., that you haven't developed the inner. And it's so important in this world of change that we develop our inner love of self, so that we have enough left over to honor and respect and love other people. So once again, hopefully this show can help you open up a whole new scope of God gift to mankind and womankind. Here comes Cosmic Help, and God bless you all.